Folks, you all read the title right. The United Nations has got quite the plan for Revelation chapter 13. And folks, let me just tell you this. You cannot make this stuff up. What is the name of the plan? Holy smokes, let's switch over. I'm going to show you a picture of this. I'm going to actually show you the document, and it is absolutely unbelievable. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it too. Pretty amazing. This is a report called Our Common Agenda. Now, the person that wrote this is the UN Secretary General, Guterres, and some of the stuff that he says he wants to do in this report is absolutely unbelievable. When you think about the things that he is talking about, ladies and gentlemen, make absolutely no mistake about it. We are literally talking about the formation of the world that leads us to the Antichrist. Let's talk about some of the things that he writes in this report, and I'll go back and leave it kind of stuck to the page that actually shows sort of the outline of what he had put out, but it's absolutely unbelievable. I'll leave it on one of these pages here so that you guys can see this, but let's just get right down to it. This is unbelievable. It says here that these are the things that he proposes to do. He entitles the document, as you have already seen, Our Common Agenda, and he calls for the following things. The first thing he calls for is a UN-led New World Order. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he actually talks about this. A New World Order that is specifically led by the
Antichrist. Jeez. Call halal Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham Rakah Quadash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of a great millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom Yasharallah. Now, I woke up early this morning, cleared the house because I wanted no interruptions in recording or any distractions for that matter, considering the information I came across last night, only to find out after doing my own research, the source of the info was spreading disinfo. Now, no matter the source, I do research everything I come across, including what I hear from the elders. The only difference is I'm way more cautious in my candor based upon the apostles' 30 plus years experience, as the scriptures caution, in terms of my limited 15 years of study. And that's all I'm going to say on that. In any event, the wacky, tacky Christians strike again. But what makes it interesting is the main points the pastor in the opening clip, and yeah, he is a pastor, the main points that he touched on are not supported by the actual document he recommended for download. But through my own research and study throughout the years, of course, most of those said points are actual fact. Matter of fact, I came across a more in-depth document regarding the UN/globalist agenda. I'll make it available for download on my webpage, detailing their plans regarding the New World Order. In fact, in the document itself, that is exactly what is called for, a UN-led New World Order. In any event, this is Revelation chapter 13, verse 15. And it says this: "And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, and that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed." The he is the beast system, NATO and the EU. We know the UN is being controlled by the international bankers under the guise of the corporation known as America and its allies, with an Israeli generator in the basement, of course, along with the European Union. The genetic makeup of the UN is thoroughly explained in Psalms, the 83rd chapter. Those same nations that stood confederate against the Most High's children, who set out to spoil us as a people and a nation, which speaks to the image of the beast, the New World Order, and its system. Those that refuse to adhere to this latest proposal by the UN Secretary General, i.e., bow down and worship the beast system. What the Secretary is not saying, more or less sugarcoating, is, and we know this through the scriptures, if you don't get down, then you gotta lay down. If you don't comply, you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, or if you're lucky, killed. The pastor where I came across the info suggested that includes any nation refusing to adopting this UN policy, which most think is highly unlikely, but we'll get into that. Now, he goes on to talk about a new agenda for peace starting in the Middle East. That is, the exact location is nowhere in the document. And besides, I thought they were already doing that anyways. My bad. Keep in mind, the Pentagon stated in June of last year they were going to replenish the Iron Dome. As of 3 days ago, that $1 billion budget has been approved. You and I know exactly what starting in the Middle East for peace means. Piece of Palestine here, piece of your lithium there, a dash of oil, a sprinkle of opium, voila, right? You know what? This is Psalms chapter 55, verse 21, and it reads, "The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords." When has Esau ever called for peace peacefully and didn't end up seeking to achieve it with bloodshed? In any event, the pastor says Monsieur Gutierrez also calls for the institution of a new financial system, one that, wait for it, a digital one world currency that allows the tracking for all buying and selling. That is nowhere in the report. But again, we know that is the ultimate agenda being solicited by this agenda. "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." Revelation 13 and 16 through 17. Y'all should know that by heart by now. What is true is they do want to mandate the jab globally. Again, what the report doesn't say is they want to mandate every nation on earth to obey the world government. What's important to stress so it doesn't get lost in this wacky tacky rapture disinfo. I'll add a link in the description box so you can see it in its entirety. What's important to point out is what Elder Apostle Tahar, peace be on him, said about you taking the magic potion. Chances are, if you do that, then you're going to take the shit, because if you will allow the powers that shouldn't be to dictate what they can put in your body to supposedly ensure your health, then how much are you going to object to them when they appease to your sense of financial stability and security? This is the world we live, where the sheeple will jeopardize their physical well-being out of fear, but will bust it wide open when you say almighty dollar. The love of money, like wine, i.e. Esau's wicked philosophies, removes all inhibitions. Let's go to Sirach chapter 10, verse 9. "Why is earth and ashes proud? There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man. For such an one setteth his own soul to sale, because while he liveth, he casteth away his bowels." Israelites giving up their insides to be secure in this wicked system. According to Pastor Clancy, with this initiative, the UN hopes to strengthen global governance, quote unquote, in our climate change suffering world. If you watch my channel, then you know climate change is in fact the vehicle Esau has long been pushing to institute the globalist agenda and New World Order, but nowhere in the document is that quote, or does it even exist as far as I could find on the internet. Let me read you some climate change quotes though. "The common enemy of humanity is man. In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. All these dangers are caused by human intervention, and it is only through changed attitudes and behavior that they can be overcome. The real enemy, then, is humanity itself." Taken from the Club of Rome, a premier environmental think tank consultants, to the, wait for it, the United Nations. "We need to get some broad-based support to capture the public's imagination. So we have to offer up scary scenarios, make simplified dramatic statements, and make little mention of any doubts. Each of us has to decide what the right balance is between being effective and being honest. And that comes from Professor Stephen Schneider, Stanford professor of climatology, lead author of many IPCC reports. Y'all need to do your research on the IPCC and their findings. That's all I'm going to say on that. We've got to ride this global warming issue. Even if the theory of global warming is wrong, we will be doing the right thing in terms of economic and environmental policy. Timothy Worth, president of the, you guessed it, UN Foundation. No matter if the science of global warming is all phony, climate change provides the greatest opportunity to bring about justice and equality in the world. Christine Stewart, former Canadian Minister of the Environment. The data doesn't matter. We're not basing our recommendations on the data. We're basing them on the climate models. Professor Chris Folland, Hadley Center for Climate Prediction, Climate Prediction and Research. The models are convenient fictions that provide something very useful. Dr. David Frame, climate modeler, Oxford University. It doesn't matter what is true. It only matters what people believe is true. Paul Watson, co-founder of Greenpeace. Isaiah 24:5 says this, the earth also is defiled, meaning polluted under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, statutes, and commandments, changed the ordinance, changed those laws, broken the everlasting covenant. Now, Pastor Glancy goes on to suggest that another telling excerpt from this new UN agenda written by Senor Antonio is his desire for a more relevant UN, quote unquote, one that is multilateral with teeth. The pastor described it as a more cohesive and unified front, one where any nation come up against the UN unilaterally will be dealt with as a collective. Now, there is in fact such a quote, but again, not in this report. In any event, we Hebrew Israelites know that any lingo in relation to Esau, Edom, and his having teeth speaks to his blessing the sword, i.e. his military prowess, his force, and might. Psalms 37:12. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The wicked is Esau, pursuant to Job 9:24. The just is we Hebrew Israelites, starting with the elect, and his teeth is his military might. Further proof lies in Daniel 7:7 and 7 and 19. Let's go there. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. Daniel 2:40. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things. Now, out of the third kingdom, Greece, came the fourth kingdom, Rome. And through the Renaissance period came America and its military. And what did they bring with them? Galvanized iron. And as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. Jumping down to verse 42, speaking to the great image of Nebuchadnezzar's dream, whose legs were made of iron and his toes iron mingled with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And this perfectly represents the relationship between America and the EU, being everything is starting to fall apart. The first indication was Brexit. Jeremiah 50 and I believe 12 gives the account. The truth being, the other nations are tired of Esau, meaning America, and its antics. Their dissatisfaction will be made known, and you will slowly see things, including their united front, spiral out of control. Partly strong and partly broken is indicative of the entire system breaking down. Matter of fact, let's go to Jeremiah 50 and 23. And it says this, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Who's the hammer of the whole earth? America. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? By the other nations of the earth who have woken up and are tired of Babylon's, let's call it double dealing, so much so that they will retaliate with force. And this is all prophesied throughout the scriptures. Incidentally, the hammer and sickle, Russia and its allied nations, is how America will be utterly destroyed. And you can find that in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. Now, did Senior Gutierrez issue a call to all nations to hold a global summit of the future in 2023 to develop a study on how to strengthen global governance and to ensure governmental policies are being enforced? Sort of. This is Psalms 83 and 14. As the fire burneth the wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. Mountains are represented in the scriptures as kingdoms and rulerships. A summit is the highest point of a hill or mountain, which is why it speaks to the highest level of diplomatic or other governmental officials, specifically referring to the meeting between heads of government. So persecute them with thy tempest and make them afraid with thy storm, regardless if it's in the report or not. Global governance via the G7 summits has long been discussed at the higher levels of rulership. So these other nations of the earth, representing Babylon and the Tower of Babel and the collective, will be set on fire per thermonuclear missiles and lasers coming from Yahweh Shai and the heavenly hosts and the chariots. The only kingdom that will be burned and not raised back up is Babylon the Great, and that's pursuant to Daniel the 7th chapter. Let's go to Psalms 110 and 6, and it says this: He shall judge among the heathen, he shall fill the places with the dead bodies, he shall wound the heads over many countries. And I mean, that's straight to the point. Now, I did a lesson not too long ago explaining the surefire way to make you comply, besides kicking a hole in your ribs or in the side of your head, is to eliminate your ability to buy or sell at will. Now, President Joe Blockhead has already suggested that any amount of money spent over $600 should be reported to the government, i.e. the IRS, so the feds at the state level know and can report exactly what you're doing. Now, what Pastor Clancy didn't highlight was the new agenda is centered around the exalting of women and children. I'm going to go right to the scriptures with this. This is Isaiah chapter 3, verse 12. And it reads, As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. Now, we know children is also a metaphor for the so-called white man, Esau, Edom. He is our child because he came out of us, and now he rules over us, as well as giving power over us to women. Feminism, woman liberation, female emancipation, whatever that means. Emancipate meaning to transfer from one master to another. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. What does this do? It causes confusion, fitting for the new Tower of Babel, the UN. Not only confusion, but an error in natural order and in thinking and judgment. Has the UN Secretary called this report a new agenda for peace? Now that is true. So let's close with this, because I don't have to. I mean, what's more to say at this point? This is 1 Thessalonians 5 and 3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. This idea of peace is being used by the elite globalists to pacify the masses so they can implement their plans for the New World Order. And you hear it in the Secretary General's intention to mandate the Jamba Juice globally. But when Esau attempts to fill his belly, meaning put his plan into fruition, i.e. the Great Reset, sudden destruction, he won't know what hit him. Verse 4, But ye brethren, those whose eyes are open to this truth, are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. Now the scriptures say Yahweh Shem Shai will return here, will come in as a thief in the night. Verse 5, Ye are all children of light and the children of the day. We are not of night nor of darkness. We are not in darkness. We are the children of light because we have this truth. This truth exposes the elite's deception and dealings done in the dark. Another title for Yahweh Shai in reference to my video on A.J. Johnson is the Day Star. He too is considered the Day Star, the ultimate Day Star, pursuant to Revelation 22 and 16. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8 comes to mind. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. And he's doing that right now through these sit-downs and the men of the Lord on the highways and byways, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Back to our Thessalonians. This is 1 Thessalonians 5 and 6. Therefore let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. Sober meaning of clear mind, listening to sound doctrine, and not letting Esau intoxicate you with his philosophies. So stay vigilant, Israel. Stay circumspect. Watch and pray. Pray without ceasing, Yasharallah. Stay engulfed in the word, which is the Holy Spirit, this truth. We are almost home. Kal halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Akakwadash through the power and spirit. Hope you were edified. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who teach this 100% truth. This 100% truth. It's 100% truth and rule well. Salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom Yasharallah. Remember, no test, no jabbity jab, and damn sure don't take that chip. Shalom.